Certainly thankful for the presence of each and every one this morning. We're glad that you were able to brave the roads and come out and be with us. It's a good crowd that we have today, and we're certainly thankful for that. And pray that everything will be good as we go home and that we'll all be safe. We're also thankful for those that are watching on the YouTube channel. This is A Minute with Mike, and I'm Michael Harden, the regular evangelist for the Valley Station Church of Christ. And we're always thankful for those who watch, and we do get calls and messages sometimes, and we appreciate that as well. This morning I want to talk with you about a lesson that we've entitled, How to Change Your Life. You know, one of the wonderful things about the Bible is that it is designed to give us guide and direction here on this earth and help us to live the best possible life that we can here, and then to prepare for eternity. Now, we know it's a common practice in this, at least in our society, to make New Year's resolutions. Okay, what's a resolution? Well, it's to decide or determine in your own mind a course of action you will pursue. Okay, one of the common ones, I want to lose weight, or I want to exercise more, I want to do different things. It's got to be a joke in this country. In fact, we're told that last Friday was the last day that most people are going to keep their resolutions. They were told that you make the resolutions, and by the second Friday in January, people have already quit. So they've already stopped doing the exercising or whatever it is that they're doing. But this morning I want to talk with you about what Jesus had to say to a beggar here when he was journeying to Jerusalem here. And I think we can learn a lesson by seeing what this man does. It says, they came to Jericho, and as he was going out from Jericho with his disciples, a great multitude, a blind beggar named Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the road. Okay, now, Jericho, as you know, was the first city that the children of Israel took in the land of Canaan. It is on the border here of the land of Canaan. It was a very important city. So Jesus is going out of Jerusalem, probably on his way to Jerusalem or some other city. And he's got his disciples with him, along with a great multitude of followers here. Then you've got a blind beggar. You know, I've thought about things that I wouldn't want to have in my life, and being blind is certainly at the top of the list there. It would be horrible not to be able to take care of yourself, and of course, in this time it was even worse because you didn't have the modern conveniences that we have today. So Bartimaeus here was sitting by the road. And the reason for that is that in this part of the world, that's how beggars got their money, got their means of being able to take care of themselves. They would beg for the goodness of someone to give them money. You know, he's not able to work. He's not able to evidently have a family that can take care of him. So he's sitting here by the road waiting for the goodness of someone who comes by. And so, how do you change your life? Well, the first thing is I've got to assume responsibility for your life. Okay, what's that mean? Well, again, in our society, we like to blame everybody else. You know, I'm not what I need to be because my parents did a bad job, or because I haven't got a good break in life, or because my boss wasn't the kind of boss I needed, and we blame it on anyone and everyone else. You're never going to change your life until what? Until I accept responsibility for my own life. And we studied in Bible class this morning that God expects us to take care of ourselves and our family. And we showed how that He wouldn't allow someone to be taken into the permanent charge of the church, because we need to accept responsibility for our own life. Now, if I'm physically unable to do that, then I can get some help. But the point here is, if I'm going to change my life, I can't wait for somebody else to do that. I can't go back and change my parents. I can't change jobs necessarily. But what I've got to do is accept responsibility for my own life. And that's exactly what this beggar does. Look at the next verse. When he heard that it was Jesus the Nazarene, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Now this is unique. You know, he's sitting here by the road, going out of Jericho. So what's that mean? Well, this is a very popular place. This is a very populated place. So he's there where he's going to see a lot of people. So what's the difference in this case? Well, evidently he'd heard about Jesus of Nazareth, the Nazarene, as it says here. And he believes that Jesus is who? That he is the Son of God. That he is the Messiah that they've been looking for. Because he says, Jesus, Son of David. Why say that? Because that was the designation of the Messiah that was going to come. He was going to be of the lineage of David. He was going to come through the lineage of David and Solomon and the other kings of the house of Judah. And he was going to be the Son of God. Now, if he didn't believe that, he wouldn't have been asking for mercy. He's not asking for money in this case. He's not asking for some help. He's asking that Jesus give him mercy. What's mercy? It's something you don't deserve. It's a free gift from someone of power who's above you. So what does he want? He wants Jesus, the Son of God, to hear his request. So he didn't wait for somebody else to say, this is the Son of God. He didn't wait for Jesus to notice him. He assumes responsibility and he cries out to Jesus. And we've got to stop worrying about what other people say. You know, we're very much from the time we're teenagers on, we want to be popular with our friends. We want to be popular with our schoolmates. You know, kids do everything so that they will not be standing out from the other classmates. And they want to look like and talk like and act like. And that doesn't change as we become adults. And as we begin to do other things in life, we want the approval, if you will, of other people. Well, notice what happens here. It says, many were sternly telling him to be quiet. Okay? Jesus not only had his disciples here, but what? He had a multitude of other people. And so when this man starts crying out, Son of David, have mercy on me, what happens? People tell him to be quiet. Don't talk. And not just telling him that, but sternly means what? They were getting ugly with him, telling him to be quiet. Did he listen? It says, but he kept crying out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. He didn't let the criticism of other people stop him. He wasn't living to please others. You know, certainly I should be an example of the kind of life that people should live, and I should be concerned about my reputation and how people view me. But I'm not answering for what they say. I'm not answering for what they may think. I'm answering for what I do with my life. And so I can't worry about what someone may say in a negative way necessarily. And then stop waiting for the ideal circumstances. I don't know how many times I've heard someone say, well, when I get my life in order, when I get everything the way it's supposed to be, then I'm going to obey the gospel and become a Christian. Does that ever happen? We're never going to get everything in order. We're never going to get every situation just the way we want it. That doesn't happen in life. There are too many variables, too many circumstances that happen. So when we need to make some changes, when do I need to do it? Right now, while I have time. Right now, while I have the opportunity to change. Right now, while I'm alive and have time here on this earth. I can't wait for those supposed ideal situations. And notice what he did. Many were sternly telling him to be quiet, but he kept crying out all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." So what were the circumstances? Well, you've got a great number of people who are telling him what? Be quiet. Stop bothering the master. And he's blind. So he had to be led by someone else. He can't even see Jesus. But think about his mindset. He believes Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And if that's true, then he's the one person who could give him back his sight. So if he keeps silent at this moment, if he stops talking and Jesus doesn't notice him, he may never get another opportunity to get his sight back. More than likely not. So what? He realizes what his need is, and he's going to take advantage of it while it's there. The circumstance is there that here's the Son of God walking by him, and he's not going to let this go without being noticed here. And then do something bold and dramatic. To make a change in our life means that we're in a rut. We're doing things that are habits that need to be changed. And so sometimes we've got to do something bold and dramatic. Notice what happens with this man. Jesus stopped and said, "Come, call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, arise. He's calling for you." And casting aside his coat, he jumped up and came to Jesus. He can't see, but what? He wants the opportunity to talk to the Son of God. So he throws aside his cloak and jumps up and basically runs to Jesus here. And of course, we need to believe that we can change. Sometimes we got to do something bold, something dramatic, but we also have to believe that we have the power to change our life. Notice what happens here. And he answered him, Jesus said, "What do you want me to do for you?" And the blind man said to him, "Lord, I want to regain my sight." Okay, why wasn't he asking that of every person that passed him by? He hasn't jumped up to anyone else. He hasn't thrown his coat aside or cloak aside for anyone else. Why? Because he knew no one else could give him the greatest gift that he needed at this time, and that was his sight. But he believes this is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who's come to the world to save men from their sins. And he believes that Jesus Christ has the power to grant this gift. He's probably heard about the other miracles that Jesus has done in other locations. What does this mean? He had to have faith that this individual could give him his sight. And then he had to clarify. We have to clarify what we really want in life. Again, notice the blind man said, "Lord, I want to regain my sight." It's easy to keep kind of general things. I want to lose weight, or I want to save more money, or I want to, go to the gym more often. If I'm going to change, what have I got to do? I've got to make better goals. I've got to say, I'm going to try to lose 10 pounds the first month. Or I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. Or I'm going to start putting money aside every week out of my paycheck and not touching that. Because when we make general statements, then it's real easy by the second Friday in January just to forget about those things. This man said to the Lord, I want to regain my sight. So we've got to clarify what we really want in life. And then so we're told, now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us. Ephesians 3:20. One of my favorite passages. There's no passage in the world that has more superlatives than this. And what it says is there is no limit with Jesus Christ or God and what they're able to do for us. Okay, so what does it say? He's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all. If you're going to say there is no limit to what Christ can do for you, how would you say it better? It says that he'll do more than we ask and more than we even think possible. Now, what caused this beggar here to believe that this man walking by him could give him this great gift of his sight? Because he believed there was no limit to God's power, or Jesus' power, and that if it was Jesus' will, that he could regain his sight. Okay. Now to us. What have I got to believe? I've got to believe that if it's something that I need, something that's necessary in my life, then God's going to do exceedingly abundantly above all that I ask. And he's going to do more than I think possible. But look at the last phrase. According to the power that works within us. Okay, it's not going to be a miracle. I can pray to God and ask God to help me be what I need to be in my life. And then what? I got to go to work. I got to use God's power to change my life. It's going to work within me. And I've got to do my part. Just if I've got some kind of disease, I've got to go to the doctor and take the medicine and do what they ask me to do to try to get better. But I'm praying all the time that Jesus and God will help me with that. And then finally, pattern your life after Jesus Christ. Okay, what does that mean? We'll look at this text. Jesus said to him, go your way. Now, he hadn't been able to do that before. Why? Because he had to be led. He couldn't see. He didn't know where to go. Your faith has made you well. That's extremely important. What gave this man the great gift that he received? It was his faith in Jesus Christ, his belief that he was the Son of God and that he had the power to grant this gift. It says, and immediately he regained his sight and began following him on the road. Now think about this for a moment. This man has been blind. We have no idea for how long. He probably hasn't been able to see his family, if at all, at least for a long time. He doesn't exactly know where he lives looks like. He's not seen a sunset. He's not seen the rising of the sun. You can just think about all the things that he might want to see with his new sight. Yet what does he do? He follows Jesus. Why? Because that's how you change your life. That's how you live a life that's going to give you eternal reward. There'll be time for him to visit with his family. There'll be time for him to go check out where he lives and see what kind of changes he might want to make. There'll be other things that he wants to do with his new eyesight. But what's the most important thing that anyone can do with their life? Well, that's follow Jesus Christ. Do what Christ wants us to do. And so he immediately regained his sight, but what? He immediately began following Jesus to learn all that he could about what he needed to be. So, how do you change your life? Well, number one, I can't blame it on anyone else. I've got to assume responsibility for my own life. What? Each one of us makes choices. Each one of us makes decisions, and we do that every single day. And so those decisions are going to affect my life, okay? And I've got to stop worrying about what other people may say, whether it's good or bad. Ultimately, I've got to live my life and do what I think is pleasing to God. And then stop waiting for ideal circumstances. You know, when you get everything in order, that's probably not going to happen. And so when the opportunity is there to change, then I need to take advantage of it. Sometimes that means doing something bold and dramatic, but I've got to believe that I can change with God's help. What changed this man, or what gave him his sight back? Jesus said, it's your faith that has made you whole. And then clarify what you really want in life. We got to be specific with the changes that need to be made, and then finally try to pattern our life after Jesus Christ. You know, the Bible is a wonderful book, and this is just kind of an innocent story that's in there. Was it an accident? You know, there's a real lesson here, and that this man had enough faith in Jesus to totally change his life. And that's what we have to be willing to do. To accept Jesus Christ and make whatever changes are necessary. And so if you're here this morning and you realize that you're not in a right relationship with God, that you've never obeyed the gospel, or you've never accepted Jesus Christ, then what a better way to start the new year than by following Jesus Christ. And if as a Christian you realized last year that you didn't do everything you needed to do as a child of God, then accept responsibility for that and make the changes that are necessary. And certainly, if we can help you in any way, we encourage you to come while we stand and sing.
God calling, yes, shall